Hello folks, and welcome to In Song and Story. This is season 2, episode number 14. It is January the 13th, 2021. We're moving right along here. Thank you for joining me this evening. And we have 3 fairly traditional sounding songs on tonight's episode. Back to basics. First song is from the Sam Henry collection. And it's a song from Northern Ireland. Sam Henry was born in Coleraine in Northern Ireland. He died in 1952 at the age of 74. He was a civil servant. He was a customs and excise officer and very successful. Started collecting songs and he played music. He considered himself to be a musician. He played fiddle and whistle, a lecturer, a writer and a collector of music. In 1908, when the Prime Minister of England, Lloyd George, introduced the Old Age Pensions Act, Sam Henry was appointed administrator in Northern Ireland. And this necessitated him to travel around the country to rural areas of Northern Ireland, stopping into small farmhouses and cottages to check to see if the poor and elderly were eligible for the Pensions Act. And on many occasions he would bring his fiddle and his whistle and play a little tune when he was offered, as everybody is, a cup of tea, and he would ask the people who lived there, did they know any songs? And that's the way he collected his songs. He published these songs in Northern Ireland. What was it called? It was the Northern Constitution from 1923 to 1938, I think, on a regular basis. And then the whole collection was published under Songs of the People in 1990, Sam Henry's collection. But anyway, this song is part of it. It's called The Hare's Lament. I know very little else about the song, from whence it comes or came. But I learned a version from Dublin singer-songwriter Susan McKeown. There's a great version of this, and there's a version by Liz Carroll, the fiddle player, along with the guitarist John Doyle. The Hare's Lament. On the 1st of November, on a bright autumn's day, the hills of Dromila I chanced for to stray. I was feeding on the green grass that grows on yon ground, when me heart was set beating by the cry of the hounds. Was sure right tally-ho, harky over hi-ho, harky over cried the huntsman, harky over hi-ho. They hunted me up and they hunted me down, old huntsman of Stratham, on my tail set the hounds. Over highlands and lowlands and moorlands also, over hedges and ditches, like the wind I did go. Was sure right tally-ho, harky over hi-ho, harky over cried the huntsman, harky over hi-ho. Give me a close brush, but they soon found me hiding, 'twas in a rush bush. For better or for worse, now I know I must die, but I do my endeavour these hounds to deny. Was sure right tally-ho, harky over hi-ho, harky over cried the huntsman, harky over hi-ho. Right tally-ho, harky over hi-ho, harky over cried the huntsman, harky over hi-ho. So now I must die, but I know not the crime. To the value of sixpence I ne'er harmed mankind. I ne'er was brought up for to rob nor to steal, except for the croppings, some tops of green. over, hi-ho. Harky over, cry the huntsman, harky over, hi-ho. Then up stepped the huntsman to end all my strife, saying, let the hare go, give him play for his life. Wouldn't it be far better, you Kilrain or the fox, who killed all your chickens, fair hen and game cocks? Was sure right, tally-ho, harky over, hi-ho. Harky over, cry the huntsman, harky over, hi-ho. On the 1st of November, on a bright autumn's day, to the hills of Dromila I chanced for to stray. I was feeding on the green grass that grows on yon ground, when me heart was set a-beating with the cry of the hound. Was sure right, tally-ho, harky over, hi-ho. Harky over, cry the huntsman, harky over, hi-ho. Right, tally-ho, harky over, hi-ho. Harky over, cry the huntsman, harky over, hi-ho. The Hare's Lament, from the song collection of Sam Henry from Coleraine in Northern Ireland. And here's another song. Here's a song that sounds very, very traditional, sounds old, but it isn't. This to me sounds like an old, one of the old Dublin street ballads. And it was written in actual fact by Kevin Conniff of the Chieftains, and released on the album The Long Black Veil back in I think it was in 1995. The Long Black Veil by the Chieftains was a critically acclaimed album, and it featured collaborations with a lot of pop musicians, Van Morrison, Sinead O'Connor, Mark Knopfler, the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, Tom Jones, Marianne Faithfull. So and Roy Cooder did some great stuff on that too. But this particular song surfaced in the middle of the album. It's called Changing Your Demeanour, and I have not done this in a long, long time. I suppose when Kevin wrote this, it's typical of so many Irish songs, it's got an awful lot of words in it, very wordy. So give it a shot. From Kevin Conniff and the Chieftains, from the Long Black Veil, Changing Your Demeanour. Here we are, we come to call with pipes and flutes and fiddles and all, in case that we've even brought a keener. If you're glum and feeling down, just be like us and act a clown. Soon there'll be a change in your demeanour. Right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da, right, tight and dootin' da, dee da da, right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da. Soon there'll be a change in your demeanour. I put me money on a horse today, he'll win the race, he'll run away. So a friend who's in the know, he told me 50 lengths ahead of post, but when he proudly passed the post, woe was me, he'd lost the bloomin' jockey. Right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da, right, tight and dootin' da, dee da da, right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da. Woe was me, he'd lost the bloomin' jockey. Now of all the places that I've seen, from China to the Caribbean, up a pale of me compared to Ireland. From Ballycastle to Tralee, the Corrib to the Liffey, there's nowhere else on earth that's like this island. Right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da, right, tight and dootin' da, dee da da, right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da. Nowhere else on earth is like this island. In Hollywood I long to be, now not the place across the sea, but County Wicklow, Ireland's lovely garden. When no pretenders will you find, but decent people warm a kind of flocks of friendly sheep into the bargain. It's a tough line there on a Saturday night with 4 pints of Guinness in you. Flocks of friendly sheep into the bargain. If you're ill, don't take a pill, but take it down the road of the hill and listen to the larks lovely warbling. In the evening, in the company with music in the key of D, dance a carry set until the morning. Right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da, right, tight and dootin' da, dee da da, right, tight and dootin' da, iddly tight and dootin' da, dance and carry set until the morning. So here we are, we come to call with pipes and flutes and fiddles and all, in case of death we've even brought a keener. If you're glum and feeling down, be like us and act the clown. Soon there'll be a change in your demeanour. Right, tight and dootin' da, Italy dight do da, right dight do da, dee di da, right dight do da, Italy dight do da. Soon there'll be a change in your demeanor. Right dight do da, Italy dight do da, right dight do da, dee di da, right dight do da, Italy dight do da. Soon there'll be a change in your demeanor. Sorry, I think I messed up a little bit there. But there's no point in starting it to go back. Cheers. I love that song, Kevin. Great stuff. So let me finish off with more of a serious song. Very popular song, considered at this point in time to be one of the modern Irish classics. And this song was written in 1985 by two brothers, Frank and Sean O'Mara. As I remember, the song kind of did the rounds a little bit before it was picked up, and it was recorded by Jim McCann, a wonderful Dublin singer. And it became very, very popular, and in the years since it's become even more popular. The song is called Grace, and it focuses on people involved with the uprising in Ireland in April, Easter time of 1916, which led to indirectly to the formation of the Irish Free State and the Irish Republic as we know it today. The whole insurrection was planned by people from the academic world mainly. Pádraig Pearse was a school teacher and a poet, and he was the Commandant General of the whole rebellion. A man named Joseph Mary Plunkett, was instrumental in the planning of the insurrection. And the song is about Joe Plunkett, or Joseph Mary Plunkett, and his fiancée at the time, Grace Gifford. And Joe came from a very wealthy family. He was born in the city centre of Dublin. His father was George Noble Plunkett, and he was a papal count, very wealthy man. The Plunkett family were given lands actually in County Louth, in the smallest county of Ireland, my home county, by Strongbow, the Earl of Pembroke, in 1169 during the first Norman invasion of Ireland. And the lineage of the family continued, and I believe they are related to Oliver Plunkett, who was the Archbishop of Armagh and the Primate of all Ireland, and he is now a saint. He was hanged, drawn and quartered in Tyburn in England on July the 1st in 1861. His head is actually enshrined in an altar in St. Peter's Church in my hometown in Drogheda, which is a remarkable thing. He is now a saint, St. Oliver Plunkett. So if you go to Ireland, go to my hometown Drogheda, you can see there on the small altar to the left of the main altar is the head of St. Oliver Plunkett. Very, very remarkable indeed. And also beside the altar is the door of his prison cell in Tyburn. So the Plunkett family were a very, very well-to-do family. Joseph Mary Plunkett was a sickly man growing up. He had tuberculosis, and he was prompted to spend some time in some Mediterranean countries and North Africa and Italy, the warmer climate, to try and help. At the time of the uprising, he had actually he was in hospital and had an operation, and I don't think it was spectacularly successful. From what I'm given to understand from my research is that the prognosis was not good, and he may not have had so much time to live. There was a double wedding planned for that Easter Sunday. Thomas McDonough and Muriel Gifford, sister to Grace Gifford, and Joe Plunkett were to get married. The whole thing, of course, was postponed because of the insurrection. Joe left his hospital bed and came down to fight in the General Post Office, a GPO, in O'Connell Street in Dublin. His camp d'aide, or his assistant, was Michael Collins, of which there has been much written, another great Irish martyr and hero. And he may be familiar to you from the movie of the same name, Michael Collins, starring Liam Neeson and Julia Roberts. Anyway, the uprising lasted about a week or so, and the leaders were taken to Kilmainham Jail and some to Mountjoy Jail in Dublin. and the leaders, 15 in all, were executed. 15 by firing squad. Joe Plunkett was shot in the morning of May the 4th, 1916. Through the intervention of the chaplain, prison chaplain, Father Eugene McCarthy, the governor was petitioned to allow Joe and Grace to be married. The permission was granted, and Grace got word of this just in the late afternoon of May the 3rd. She hurried down to Grafton Street, which is one of the main shopping streets in Dublin, into a jeweller shop, Stoker's jeweller shop. She bought some rings, and she went back to Comedham Jail and was left in the inner courtyard. She was there between 6 and 6:30. At 11:30 at night, she was escorted to the chapel, and Father McCarthy was there, performed the wedding. The witnesses were armed guards or soldiers. And then she went to stay in a house close by in James's Street, and the priest had assured her that they would get some time to spend together. She was awakened at 2 o'clock in the morning and brought back to Comedham Jail, to Joe's cell number 88, and they were given 10 minutes together. From her recollections, the cell was quite crowded, so they had no privacy at all. And after 10 minutes, she was led away. Joe pressed into her hand his keys and a lock of hair and a poem or some words he had written. So again, she was taken and stayed fairly close to the prison, waited for the execution, which on a May morning in Ireland, in Dublin, Ireland, would be somewhere close to 6 a.m. So about that time, when she thought it was going to happen, she looked at the keys and the lock of hair and thought about her new husband, and she wondered if he would hear the crack of the rifles before he felt the sting of the bullets, and she hoped for her new husband that there would be no dying, only death. Then she opened up the paper he had written, and on the paper he had written these words: I see his blood upon the rose, and in the stars the glory of his eyes. His body gleams amid eternal snows, and tears fall from his skies. I see his face in every flower, the thunder and the singing of the birds but his voice, and carven by his power, rocks are his written words. All pathways by his feet are worn, his strong heart steers the ever-beating sea. His crown of thorns is twined with every thorn, his cross is every tree. Joseph Mary Plunkett. Grace Gifford would never marry again, and she lived a life as a struggling artist. She was an artist and a cartoonist, and she died in Dublin in 1955. It's almost such a tragic love story. It's almost a movie waiting to happen. Anyway, I will leave you with this song, the song Grace, and thank you once again for joining me. Be safe, be careful out there in the middle of all this. As we gather in the chapel here in old Comedham Jail, I think about the last few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed from our school days? They have told us we must yearn for liberty, but all I want on this May morn is to have you here with me. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. Then take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say for you, my love, to ever understand the love I have for these brave men, my love for this dear land. But when Porrick called me to his side down in the GPO, I had to leave my own sick bed. To him I had to go. Oh Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. Take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Now as the dawn is breaking, my heart is breaking too. As I march out on this May morn, my thoughts will be of you, and I'll write some words upon the wall so everyone will know I loved so much that I could see his blood upon the rose. Oh Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. Then take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. There won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. And that was for my good friend Jack Smith, who's trotting around the country somewhere. Also for Thomas O'Reilly's Irish public house in Sandy Springs in Atlanta. My good friend Butch is celebrating 1 year open, and it's been a tough year with the COVID. Anyway, to Jack and to Butch, Sláinte. Good night and God bless. Thank you for joining me.